Hey guys, Jean here. Sorry I've been off grid for a little while. I've been deep in a project for the past 6 months that had required a lot of my time and attention. So now that we're entering into this new and interesting time, I figured I would come through with some information. I've had a lot of people reaching out to me asking, what the heck is going on? What do we do with this? Are we going to be okay? And I just wanted to talk about a few things today, just to sort of hopefully pacify some fears, give you some information maybe that you might not have thought of, and to possibly give some direction as far as how to navigate these times that we find ourselves in. So I've got a few talking points just so I keep on track. A lot of times, those of you that have been doing your spiritual work know that if you're listening to guidance, it can come through as a whisper. And if we don't listen, it starts to knock a little bit louder, and it gets a little bit louder until it gets our attention. So what that looks like in daily life is, if you have a meditation practice, you might receive information from guidance that says, go this direction or show up in this place today and you'll have an opportunity present itself. And you sort of go with this beautiful, gentle flow. Those that find themselves in the busyness of life and the chaos of life sometimes have a harder time hearing, just because they don't take the time to stop and listen. So a lot of times life gets loud. You'll find yourself in crisis situations where you have to pay attention to that. So this is globally what's happened right now within this pandemic. So I would say a global pandemic is pretty freaking loud. It's definitely getting everyone's attention. And we've been preparing for this time of awakening little bit by little bit by little bit. And it feels like this is a breakthrough moment. And a lot of people are reaching out to me saying, I'm sad and I can't spend time with my family the way that I like to, and life is different. And it can create a sense of heaviness within your field, just because things are very different. A lot of people are reporting, I just want to get back to normal. Like, let me just, let go of this quarantine. I just want to get back to normal. And that's not the point of this whole thing. So I would implore you to explore a little bit. What could be better than the normal that you have been living in? The reality that you created was one of the past belief systems, your previous lineage, all of these connections to the past of ways that don't really apply that well anymore. And so during this time, we're being asked to pause. It's sort of like an induced meditation. Take some time, chill out a little bit, take a little bit of time to spend with your family, take some time off work. But what people tend to do is the default. Now we have the time, people get into fear of, well, crap, this looks very different than what I'm used to. What do I do now? So I've been watching and listening to the emotional curve of the collective throughout this process. And it's been a super interesting one, because I can feel how the fear spiked and then sort of settled down a little bit, and it continues to peak and come back down, and everything will ebb and flow in life. Our jobs right now are to not engage with the fear, but to have faith that everything is going to be okay. And fear and faith cannot reside in the same place. They are completely opposite ends of the spectrum. And when you're in that place of crossroads, you can choose one or the other. And fear will get you into a lower density. It's very much in a 3D, which contains fear, anger, jealousy, resentment, all of the negative feelings that keep our vibrations low. The whole idea here is the ascension of the planet, and also the ascension of all inhabitants on it. The Earth right now is able to get a reset. The Earth's vibration has been lifting for a long time. And so now, without all the heaviness, the density, the congestion that has been imposed on the Earth herself is able to restore. And we are also being asked to vibrate at that same frequency, to lift our frequencies and to let go of the lower densities. So we're in a time right now where we can stop the insanity, stop the overworking, stop the struggle. We're being asked, it's my Tazi, we're being asked to really recalibrate now, because we can. So when you find yourselves in that place of fear, see if you can take a deep breath and just say, this is an opportunity for me to do something different that I've never done before. And anything that's in the unknown, we were taught to fear. Well, we don't know what that is, so we're going to fear it. We don't know what that person is, so we're going to fear it. We don't know that person looks different than us or acts different than us or talks different than us, so we're going to fear it. This is sort of a default program. So when you recognize that program, you can catch it and say, you know what? That's not my belief system. I'm going to choose to believe this instead. I'm going to choose to believe that we are a planet of love and we can show love and share love with all, no matter what gender, skin color, race, galaxy, any of it. We can share and be love. This is our birthright to be in this place. So as we're lifting into the 5D, 4D, 3D, like I said, is more fear-based, lower density emotions. 4D is coming into your awakening. It's recognizing programs and patterns that run within you that might not be working. And it gives you the chance to explore and evaluate what you'd like to keep and what you'd like to discard. When we lift up into 5D, it's a unified consciousness. This is what we're coming into right now. This place of unification, of communion, of telepathic communication, of understanding each other at a much deeper level. This is where we're going. But it's super important if you want to reach those places to release the fear. Because in the 5D, manifestation is easy. You think something and you create it. So if you start to try to bring fear up in there, which it can't really even reach there, but you can understand why you can't access that place. If you could, and you bring complete fear into that, instant manifestation of whatever you're fearing. So it's time to release the fears, come into a place of faith, of love, of knowing that all will be well, and you'll be able to help everyone else in the collective lift up. Okay, so this is really interesting too. Another talking point I wanted to cover is the energy of overwhelm and stress. So a few weeks ago, I had a session with a client and she was saying, we're so overwhelmed, this workload and this family stuff, and we're moving, and all these things are going on. And as I got into her field, I found that the energy of overwhelm was consuming 60% of her energy. So it wasn't the actual tasks that she was doing that was making her feel stressed and overwhelmed. It was the energy of overwhelm. So we cleared out that energy and simply left her with what she needed to do, which is very manageable. So we tend to pile on the energy of stress, the energy of overwhelm onto things that we need to do. So right now, as you find yourself at home, stressing about money, possibly you've been laid off or let go, not quite sure what to expect. There could be a lot of stress that you're pulling in to fill in those gaps where you used to be busy doing other things. Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. You don't have to. You can find peace within this place. And what happens when you do that, when you release the energy of stress and grasping and pulling in all these things that you're trying to hold on to, you let all of that false illusion of foundation release. And what comes in its place is something much better, much, much better. So see if you can just take a deep breath and just let go of the stress. Just let it fall off your body, let go of the overwhelm, and just take a breath and just feel into that emotion of all will be okay. And I don't quite know what to expect right now, and I'm not sure what's coming next. And I can find peace with that because I know we're headed in a direction that's better serving. See if you can play with that a little bit and come into that space. It's so much more lovely in that place than the other. Another aspect that's been coming through a lot is channels of overgiving. So what I work with a lot of, as we're lifting up into this higher dimension, we're really being asked to release patterns that don't work. One of those is self-sacrifice and overgiving. And I'm seeing this, I was analyzing this yesterday and exploring it with my guides. It comes through in very different versions of this. So I'm going to see if I can explain this properly. Sometimes it's hard to put words to this, but I'm going to give it a shot. So we have the spectrum of giving and overgiving and taking. So in one side of the spectrum is takers, people that have been hurt and don't feel like they can trust, and they feel like they have to manipulate in order to get their needs met. And they just end up taking because they have a deep fear of not having what they need. Okay, so this is all based on hurt and wounding that just hasn't been healed. So they require compassion as well. On the other side of the spectrum is the overgivers. the ones that balance the scales from the takers, right? But there is a middle ground. And we're being asked to step into the middle ground now. So just because you're not overgiving doesn't mean you're selfish. And so what I'm seeing is there's all sorts of people all over the spectrum. Those that have been really, really focused on work and have been in the struggle and trying to make life work and really been focused on, themselves or immediate family, it feels very much like they're being asked to find some peace, step into a better way of being for themselves, as well as share within the collective energy, to give more, to be of service more, to really connect in a place of generosity and finding the deep levels of humanity within. On the other side of that middle ground are those people that have been overgiving. A lot of the light workers have fallen into this category just because we tend to see, and I'm guilty of this myself, we tend to see what the need is and we respond to it without even acknowledging if that's our work or not. And so we're in the midst of finding balance within those channels of overgiving. And so energetically, what they've been showing me is we all have channels of giving. So the takers, they have channels that have retracted and they're holding that just for their own sense of safety and security. The givers, their channels are flowing and they're open, but they've also created possibly millions of more channels that are overgiving, energy, too much outflow, leaving self completely depleted. So what my guides have been showing me is to allow the channels of giving to flow, to still show up in the ways that you love to do, to support people, to love on people, to nurture them, to give as you feel compelled. However, sort of turning those channels of overgiving back inward, because self is so important right now. So as you turn those channels of overgiving back in, you start to feel your own sense of love, your own sense of nurturing, and your own sense of self-care. That is the epitome of self-care, is taking care of your soul, of your deepest needs of evolution. And if you are overgiving and depleting yourself, you are not giving yourself the opportunity to evolve into the being that you could be, that you're meant to be here, that's your birthright to be, which is one of ease and grace and blessings and abundance of all ways. That's your birthright. That's what we're having the opportunity to step into right now. So it's very exciting. So if you meditate, you could meditate on that and just check in with where your channels are, giving, overgiving, taking, etc., finding that balance. And so that would be a really good thing to focus on. Another aspect that I'd like to talk a little bit about today is how we're moving from a sense of distortion into our sense of divinity. So the divine masculine and the divine feminine, we each have each portion of that within ourselves. Our right side's our masculine side, our left side's our feminine side. So we each embody, no matter what your gender, what you identify yourself as, we each contain masculine and feminine energies. The masculine energy is really active and it's the protector, and it's very confident and very, it connects with the sun. It's very warm, passionate energy, moving energy. The feminine, it connects with the moon. It's very, there's a flow to it. There's a sense of intuition and the pause and the stillness and the nurturing aspect. And you can just sort of feel that deep sense of connection there. So that's within our divinity. Those are the aspects of that. What we've been seeing as we're moving out of the 3D into the 4D and 5D is a lot of distortions that are asking to be released. So a distorted masculine is one of insecurity, who needs the ego stroked to make sure that they feel okay about themselves, who does things not for the sake of others, but so they can look good in others' eyes, who can see themselves through the eyes of these other people who now adore them because of what they're doing. So their agenda is not one of purity, but it's one of manipulation, trying to get their needs met without acknowledging and simply asking. So that's sort of the distorted masculine versions of self. So check in and see, am I exhibiting any of those patterns? Do I feel insecure and trying to get my needs met in other ways? Are there things within myself that I am ready to see and to heal and to move more into my sense of divinity? The same token, a distorted feminine is one of overgiving, of self-sacrificing, playing the martyr, feeling like you've got to save the world because you're the only person who can, and that you don't trust other people to be able to do their own work and to help themselves. All of that is symbolic of the distorted feminine. So we're really being asked now to not only elevate our vibrations so we can more easily step into the 5D, but to really check in with yourself now. You've got time to do this now. You can really go in and see what's going on in my inner worlds. What have I possibly been neglecting or ignoring that has been trying to get my attention and I just haven't had the time or taken the time to see yet? Can you take that for yourself now? Go out for a walk, be in nature, contemplate on these things if it feels compelling to you, and see what you get. Because this time that we're in, it's not one of sadness and despair. It's really one of hope and of changing the times. And we don't want to go back into status quo. We want to come back better, stronger, brighter. And we totally have the ability to do that right now. So I hope all that made sense to you guys. I really hope that you can embrace this time and create the best versions of it for yourself, because you have the time to do it. There's no better time than now. If not now, then when? So take this opportunity because it's being, gifted to you on a silver platter. So we'll talk again soon, I promise. I won't go this long being off grid, but until next time, sending you big hugs, lots of love, and take care of yourselves and each other.